How do you have consultations that go beyond the Pinterest picture to get to the bottom of what people really want to look like, despite what they think they want to look like? Hi, I am Kayla Swanson, and I am your host of the Profitable Salon podcast. And hanging out with me today for the second time is Vivian McKinder. What's up, Vivian? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back. I'm super excited to share some interesting ideas with you.
I know. I'm excited to have this conversation because Vivian, when you were on last time, I love the perspective that you take and the line of work that you've done and the experience that you've had and who you've gotten to work with, of just the perception that you have through what you've seen. And so before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time or did not catch Vivian's last podcast with me, will you give me a little bit of a backstory of who you are, kind of what you do, so people can get to know you a little bit?
Well, I've been around a long time. I've traveled the world doing hair for the last 40 plus years. I've won numerous awards, published in so many magazines. I have 2 books. I built a website 20 years ago, which was the first online platform for our industry. And it was before YouTube. And at that time, MySpace was the only one out there doing some cool social media stuff. So I've always been about pioneering. Originally from London, Vidal Sassoon trained, artistic director at Sassoon's. Then I was artistic director at Trevor Sorbet, 2 iconic companies that have really been highly influential in fashion, style, and the techniques we use today. So that's who I am.
I love it. Been around the world. I love the experience and just, getting to not only experience in the industry, but experience with up with, just doing bigger things, like doing bigger projects and getting, just more of the challenge of you don't only have here's how you do something, but you're having to create something and create, a look of what looks good on a model or what looks good on somebody, rather than just doing hey, do this kind of haircut. It's no, you got to complete a look, and you're going for that one and being able to be skilled in that, which is really, really cool. So today we're talking about how to have a conversation with your clients. And I know you, as you're listening, you're more the owner. And so we want to have a conversation about how to influence your salon and how to help and support your team to have conversations with their clients, whether they're new or existing, to have a conversation that goes a little bit deeper than they come in with their pictures and their Pinterest or their Google or whatever, hey, make me look like her, or make me look like them, or make me look like what, they have an idea, I want to look like this, because what they see on the picture and the complete look of the model and the hair, that's a look. And they're I want to look like that. It's really the emotion that they're feeling when they're looking at a picture. So they want to have that same emotion they feel when they say, wow, that is a complete look. They want that for themselves. It doesn't always necessarily mean word for word or look for look, make me look like that. So being able to have the conversations with people that can help you get to the bottom of okay, what works, and also be able to have the skill and the talent and the eye to be able to look at something and be okay, well, what if we did this instead? Or let's add some highlights here and actually have that knowledge. So that's what we're going to kind of dive in today. So Vivian, please open up. Tell me a little bit about, we've had a conversation before we started. What have you seen and in your experience lately of what is there versus what's not?
95% of hairdressers, actually 97% of hairdressers say they give a consultation. 7% of consumers say they receive a consultation. So
Big difference.
That's a huge gap. Many times hairdressers are trained quite well in current trends and techniques. So they learn their square layers, they learn whatever is trending in color. If you grew up through a time of perming, then you became very trendy and good at perming. I just recently was doing a teardown of a stylist's work, and she submitted lots of images of her makeovers on her clients. And some of the clients were more mature. And I said, you've given this lady a hairstyle that would look great on a 20-year-old who looks like a model. I said, but this lady is 200 pounds in weight. She's mature and she can't carry this. You've done a sensational haircut, but it doesn't fit who she is. So you got so consumed by your wonderful technique that you forgot about who's wearing it. So I always say to people, stop, put down your tools. When you actually meet your client, you've got to look at that client head to toe. You've got to design from the inside of the head before you go to the outside of the head. And a consultation should have value. It shouldn't be, what are we doing today? So I have seen so many examples where people were never trained to see shape and balance. They were taught techniques. And if you look on social media today, you'll see so many reels of clever tricks and hacks and clever little fast effects. But it's not talking about using your mirror. It's not talking about stepping back and looking at the balance and the proportion and how does it work with the architecture of the face. And it's not talking about, is that client an apple, pear, or banana body type? Where is the volume in the body? How tall is that client? So that that hairstyle belongs on that person's shoulders. And it also belongs within their age group. Because if it doesn't belong in their age group, you've just did a great hairstyle, but what about the taste level? And Trevor Sorby used to say to me, Viv, I don't think you can teach good taste. I said, no, Trevor, I think you can. And when I used to watch him work and innovate and create, and I've been around some of the most incredible hairdressers in the world. So when I used to step back and watch them, and sometimes I was just a human sectioning clip, I'd just be holding hair and watching. And I would always say to myself, I wonder what they're going to do. And I would be silent and I would try and listen to the consultation. And very often they would just say, well, I want to do this, 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 and this. And they would just go and do it. And I think, I wonder if she even understands what's happening to her right now. And they used to just agree. And really, when I used to take them to the backwash, I'd say, what are you going to have done today? I don't know. You mean you don't know what you're going to have done? Oh, don't worry, I trust Trevor. Right? Because the reputation and his aesthetic was so incredible. He was so published and so, it was on TV when I was working for him 50 times in 1 year. He was a celebrity. So people said, whatever you do, and he never compromised beauty. He had a sense of style. So I went on a quest thinking, right, I want to learn innovation. I want to learn how to be creative, but not at the price of making someone look ugly because I did some clever little haircut. Living in London, we did some really strange stuff. Really strange.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the stranger, the better, which is fine if you've got someone that can sport strange. But sometimes it'd be like, whoa, I really took that one a little too far. But today it's very, very different. But I then made a study of how do I teach somebody, how do I train your eye to know when it's right, to know when it's wrong? How do I train you to see the balance and the proportion of the face? How do I then teach you to be able to give a narrative around that, to explain what you feel, right? And so now I've made it this quest because I have found that I've, over the years, helped people be strong hair cutters, really, really great artists. I've trained so many people through my career who are icons within our industry. So, I'm the proud mummy, seeing my children go off and thrive, which is wonderful. They have that sense of style. But now what I'm focused on is how do I teach people to select the right hairstyle, and what do they do when they've got a know-it-all client? What do they do with a client who's a resistor, says, well, no one's been able to take care of me. You probably won't either. How do we navigate through that? How do we navigate with confidence? How do we navigate through fear? How do we stand up for what we believe in? And how do we find our voice and find our brand? So all of that I've been unpacking. So that's my path right now.
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
We're Forest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Forest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Forest. Together, we grow.
I'm really excited because in that, I know it's a big, it's not necessarily something that we can teach you how to do in 30 minutes, but I'm so excited to be able to dip our toes into what that can look like. So in explaining those things, like how, I love when you said like approach with confidence of like going past like your skill level, it's going past like what do you know and what's in your heart too, like what do you feel? So in teaching those people, like how do you start to have those, like how do you take somebody who has been focused on the skill and the technique for so much of their career, and they start to broaden them up. Like, how do you know if a haircut is right for somebody or not?
Well, very often you only know when it's finished. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
photograph it, that's the actual painful truth. And why today do we see backs of hairstyles? And why today do we see very few front-on images? And why today do we see head tilted down? To me, the ultimate test is, can that hairstyle look good square to camera? Not 3/4, but square to camera. And is that hairstyle strong enough that it looks great 365 degrees? And usually the answer is no.
Totally. And so that's how do you know, like, if you don't know till it's done, how do you start to be able to piece together before you even get started? Like, how can the stylist know, be like, oh, like, you know, somebody comes in with their picture, they're recommending like, hey, I want this done. And somebody, like, how do you start to build that confidence? Be like, you know, honestly, like, because of your complexion or because of your face shape, you know, I really think that we could do this instead.
Yes.
How do you approach that?
Well, okay, first of all, good luck following an image from Pinterest. I've been doing it as an exercise, and because I'm building this application right now, which is launching quite soon, I wanted to test out certain things. So what I started to realize was that some of the references I was using were AI. They were not even a real person, but I liked them better than the real person. So there I was trying to copy and interpret them. And most of them I came pretty close, but some, it was just almost impossible to get the exact look. And I was on a quest, I'm going to carbon copy this. So if someone came in to me and said, I want this carbon copied, could I do it? Now, the thing is, should you do it? That's a different question. Your why is the most important thing. Why would you choose a certain length? Why would you choose a certain style? Why would you choose a certain color? Your why must be the motivating factor. So when a client shows you a photographic reference, it is interesting to see what their taste level is like and what their inspiration is. And that's where it kind of stops. And it's like, thank you so much for sharing that photograph with me. Gorgeous, love it. But now let's talk about you, because you're sitting in my chair and you're a different canvas. So now let's break that down. So the first thing I train, first of all, every client that we work with goes through the consultation. So the consultation form is completed. So therefore we have a complete profile. Now I call these questions of courage, because you've got to be prepared for the answer. So a question that's always difficult for a hairdresser is, how much are you prepared to spend today? What's your budget today for this service? Am I going to outprice or am I going to undersell? Because assumption's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Assuming that they will go for it, assuming it will be okay, versus the courage question of, how important is budget to you? Somewhat important, very important, not important. Not important. The husband left, the kids left, I'm on a dating service. Every piece of money I have is going into my look, whatever it may be, right?
It's different for everybody. Yep, totally. That's a good question. Some people care, some people don't.
Yeah. And the other courage question is really, what's your daily routine? How much time are you really prepared to put into your hair every day? And how often, time-wise, are you going to come in? If I want to know what people value, there's only 2 areas I need to look to get truth. And obviously I can't do that with people, but if we want to know what's true for us, our bank account, how we spend our money, our diary, how we spend our time. How do we spend our money? How do we spend our time? Time is the only thing you'll never get back. So time to me is very important. But money is there. And how do you rob Peter to pay Paul? How important is it? When people say, oh, I can't put up my prices, then I question the value of what you're giving. Because when you value something, you will find the money for it, because nobody in town can give you something of that value. So that's what we should be focused on, selling. So in the consultation, we go through the sticky, awkward questions, that are the questions of courage. And once we've got all that profile, then the first thing I say to people is, don't pick up your tools. First of all, stand your client up, put her back to the mirror, have the client hold their hand mirror, so she's seeing a reflection of herself in the mirror, right? That way, when you're talking about the person's body type, how tall they are, apple, pear, banana, the conversation's to the mirror, You're both looking at the reflection versus the person. If I was to come into your space right now and look at you up and down, that's very invasive. But if I looked at your reflection in the mirror and we had a conversation about if I cut your hair square across the back, it's going to give horizontal effect. So say, for example, you don't, but say, for example, you were a lovely big old apple. You're a pear, but sorry, you're a banana, but you're an apple. Let's just pretend for a moment. So that means you're wider, as you're as wide as you're tall in your torso. There's wide out here because an apple is round. So the length of the torso and the width of the waist are the same, right? That's an apple, round.
Right.
So if I go and put a square line across the back of your head or the back of your shoulders or back of your bra strap, I have just made you look even wider. I have not done you any favors. And if I think I must cut a nice blunt line and make it look perfect for you, I just made your apple look even wider because I went horizontal, right? So the conversations about body type sit the client down. So she understands how her head should be on the body because the head should fit into the body 7 times. That's the proportion, right? So, and in the modeling world, it's 9 because it's elongated, but it's 7 for us people, the non-models.
That's good to know. That's fascinating.
Good to know because it's proportion, right? So when a client says it was cut too short last time, very often it was disproportionate with her body. Right? Disproportionate with her neck, disproportionate with her shoulders. So then the next thing we do is I call it voguing around the face. So you can use your imagination, right? And imagine how you would look with a pixie haircut. But I actually vogue around your face. I can frame your hair like a fake kind of lift around, and I can frame your face and show you what would happen if I like lift here and what I do here. And I can kind of vogue around the face because my hands are a shape and I can come square, I can come asymmetric, and I vogue around the face and I show the client by faking the hairstyle and say, look what happens when I lift. Look what happens when I pull down. Look what happens when I put a center parting. Look what happens when I flip the parting the other way. And we can start to see the yin yang of the face. We can start to see all of that. Then I measure the face, and it's very, very simple. I measure from the eyebrow to the forehead, brow to nose, nose to chin, and then here in the neck. And this is an equal 3 in the face. And then the neck is the 4th. So for those of you who are listening, the ratio of proportion is that the face be of equal thirds, the neck being the 4th. So you want that balance. So if someone has a short forehead, do you conceal it to hide that it's short, or do you give that lady lift and height? If the face is very full as a pear, that means the head shape is oval. It's not round. So that means they have a skinny skull and a big jawline, which makes a pear. So when you're looking at the shape, and the ultimate goal is to oval out every single face shape. So when you oval the face, then you have balance. So when you oval the face, any hairstyle is going to work. But if you don't get oval, you have to compensate, and a hairstyle will emphasize or detract. A hairstyle will open or close. So those are the important things to be super, super aware of. So we go into the voguing, and then we take an even deeper dive.
Wow, man, it's interesting. Like I love, this is really like tickling my brain. I'm like thinking of like, man, in the past consultations I've had with people and just the kind of questions that are asked and just like even having that knowledge. And I know we talked about even before this of like how people, like are teaching more technique. They're teaching you to stop and be aware of like, how are things taking shape, and how like, it's not just like, here's how to do a haircut on 10 different people. It's like, here is how to do a haircut, one haircut on each individual person, because we are all individual. And knowing those things and knowing how to compliment people's body types, like you want them walking away from your chair just feeling absolutely gorgeous. You want them to feeling the best version of themselves. And even if they don't know how to communicate it, if they walk out of there and it's not asymmetrical, it's not like when they look in the mirror, it's going to have a different emotional effect on them. And so like, how much more magical of a situation would you have if you could have those kinds of conversations and just be like, hey, here's a safe space to talk about it, to where, okay, yeah, this is where your body type, this will actually help. This will look really good. This will make like, and even hearing that right there, like, making your face look more oval shape will be more symmetrical, and it will just look more put together, look more complete. like having that kind of knowledge as a service provider, as a hairstylist, it's going to give me as like the consumer or the guest in your chair, it's going to give me more confidence of like, oh yeah, like that's what I want. I want to look really good. It's not necessarily I want highlights or I want dark, I want red, I want purple, whatever it is. It's like, I want to feel really, really good and really complete in who I am when I look in the mirror every single day when I wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what too?
Yeah.
The number one thing for a woman, the number one thing is to feel safe.
Yeah.
The number one. The number two is to be seen. Do you see me? And the third is to be heard. So if you are rushing through and she's your 3 o'clock and you're really not making eye contact, you're really not connecting with her, you're not really listening to her, there's 2 strikes against you. Now, how does she feel safe? She's sitting in your chair and you're bringing out either color that could damage her hair, you're bringing out a sharp object around her head, you may be cutting on her skin. That requires a lot of trust. You're using hot tools around her. So there's the physical aspect of the doing, but then there is also emotionally, what if you turn me into somebody that I'm not? And just think for a moment, if you've ever seen women like out together, like a bachelorette party, and they all have the same balayage ombre and they all have the long hair. Maybe the leader of the pack looks amazing with that look. But then there's Chunky Monkey there that's got fine hair and she doesn't quite look as good. And then there is Skinny Minnie there who's got 3 hairs and a friend and she don't look good either. But they've all got the same look. And how do they feel? How's their self-esteem when they're copying each other and only one of them looks good and the rest of them are trying to be like their friend, to be appreciated, to be loved and blah, blah, blah. And they're a really bad version of it. And their hairdresser never had the guts to say, that's a great look, but it's not yours. I can do that for you and it will not look as good as 3 other ideas that I have for you right now. And instead of copying your friends and being a bad version, how about being the best version of yourself and give them a bit of a kick? You know, you've got to train your clients. And if you're not an expert, you don't know how to speak this through, shame on you. Shame on you right now. Because you shouldn't be picking up tools if you don't know how to use them and you don't know how to look at a client and you don't know how to talk to her. Do I get an hallelujah, friend?
I love to hear the passion and just knowing that like you care about your craft, you care about how people, like having that confidence to be able to come from a place of like, I do know how to make, like I am a professional in my industry. I do know how to make your hair look the way that compliments you. So you were walking out of here feeling really good. Like I remember when I first went completely blonde. And I was really excited for the dramatic effect of it. And I really wanted it. But like the minute I looked in the mirror, I was like, whoa. I was like, that's really like, I couldn't tell if it was the difference, the lighting. And come to find out, like, I don't feel like me personally, I'm a good blonde. Like, I think that once my hair kind of grew out and it got dark and I was like, yeah, okay, this is more me. And so like, I thought about like, oh, it'd be fun to be blonde again for the idea of being blonde. But I do know that like, just because I wanted the blonde doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to suit my skin tone and my face and what I'm trying to accomplish. Sure. And I love the idea of just, the bottom line, just have empowering your stylists and empowering your service providers to own their craft and to own what they know and to speak up when they think differently, that it's okay. That when people are coming in and having consultations and, because, your hairstylist, they've been doing hair for however many long, whether it's 20 years or 3 years, they've been doing it and they're working inside of it, but also empowering them to have the confidence to be like, I really think that this cut or this style or this color is really going to not like, if you did this one, it would really bring out your eyes. You speak to how things connect to the other attributes that they have and the colors of their eyes, or, even the clothes. Like I know some salons lately are doing, where you can do color matching to like, what's your best colors that you should be wearing? Like what colors should you and your skin tone be? Mm-hmm. Like we have that kind of knowledge and technology. And that's like, you want people walking out of your salon feeling the best version of themselves. And in doing that, it's instilling that confidence and being able to be like, I'm an expert and I'm helping you accomplish this. Because it is, I love what you said earlier, Vivian, about being the safety and feeling safe and confident. And it's like, they're coming to you, like, no matter how many times they've gotten their hair done, they come to you. It's like, you are the expert. Can you help me navigate this? Because you sit there like, okay, so what do you want? Be like, I don't know. I think once and be like, yeah, okay, I could do that. Yeah. And it's like, you lean on them. Like they're coming in to you as a professional, and you're leaning on them, be like, hey, you tell me what you want, rather than like, okay, what are you kind of going for? Like, how do you want to feel? You want to go like, what's the length that you want? And be like, okay, well, I was thinking maybe we could do, these layers or this cut or this, whatever it is, and spearhead and lead with that confidence, Vivian, that you were saying earlier, leading with confidence in how you're doing your consultations with your guests, whether they've been with you for 5 years or this is their first time with you. Leading with that confidence is going to really change the way that they feel sitting in your chair and you getting your hair done. And even, I love what you said earlier about talking them through, like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to, these are the ways I'm doing it. These are products I'm using. Like, involve them in the process of how you are leading the charge and making their hair be not just what they want, but what's going to suit them the best, so that when they wake up every single day, they feel the best version of themselves, which is what I love the point that you made, Vivian.
Well, think about this for a moment. If you do not win the trust and the respect of your guest, they will take over control, which is very difficult for you to be a puppet and for them to pull your strings when you're the one with the tools in your hand, which means then you start to second guess yourself. You start to try everything to please them, and you feel like you're completely compromised because you were disempowered. And now your boss wonders why you're not motivated. And your boss wonders why, how come you don't come to classes? Because you've lost the motivation. You've lost the hope. You've lost the belief in yourself. And confidence is a skill. Do you know when people lose confidence? When they stop trying. Yeah. Because to build confidence, you start at zero. To try something new, it's zero. And by being mentored and guided, you start to grow. And as your skill grows, so does your confidence. And the client can feel that. And the other side of this is that for the salon owners listening, you work really hard to build your skill, to build your brand, to open your salon, to attract stylists. And you had to have an overflow of clients to give to other people so that they could also be busy. If you're a salon owner and you're not fully booked, how can you feed the rest of your staff clients? It always starts with the leader, So now the salon owner has built their brand and built everything up, and they're looking around going, oh my gosh, what's happened to my brand? That kid has just done the same hairstyle on 10 clients today. What happens when the fashion ship sails on and they're still doing the same thing? Guess what they'll be called? A has-been. And guess what? They won't be as busy. And we're looking at their numbers and wondering why they're not getting referrals and why their retention is low, because they stood still. And nothing in life stands still. Life is always progressing. So as leaders, we have to make sure we empower our people and we give them skills, techniques, systems so that they are empowered. And the most important person that should be doing that is the leader. And whenever I'm doing training, I always encourage the leader of the salon to be there with his team because they want to see that. They want that example set. That's good leadership. Don't do as I say, do as I'm doing with you in the trenches. So, we have mirror neurons in our brain. And so whatever we see, we mirror consciously or subconsciously. So if your salon does what are we doing today, and you have not given the weight to what a juicy consultation should look like and how that client can feel safe, cared for, and seen, and you haven't got all of that sorted out, then you're missing huge financial opportunities. And more importantly, the confidence and the skills of your stylists are starting to slip backwards. And you may be scrambling, but you're scrambling after the wrong thing.
Wow. Vivian, this has been such a cool conversation. And I hope, as you're listening to this, I know that, I love how passionate you got, Vivian, and you're listening to this. The underlining really big, point that we really want to make today is that you have to want to get into, be so good at what you do that when people walk into your salon, you are the expert and you have that confidence to be able to communicate with them, and that they walk out and like, I love what you said, Vivian, about like your brand, like what are you representing and how are people leaving your salon? Yeah. Like, are everyone leaving your salon with the same haircut? Are they leaving your salon with the look that like when people see them, they're like, wow, who did your hair? You look amazing. And it's like, not just because you have the most stylish, trendy haircut, it's because you have a cut and color that fits who you are as a person. And, so Vivian, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This has been such a cool conversation. I love the love punches conversation. We get passionate and direct because sometimes people need to hear that. And sometimes people, you know, like I hope this conversation was one that got you just to think about like, oh yeah, how are we doing this? Or, you know, what are we producing? Or how is my staff treating their clients? Or what is their perspective? Or what confidence are they having when people sit in their chairs? So Vivian, thank you for hanging out with us today and hope you got a lot out of it. If you want any support in your salon, send us a text. There's a number in the description. I used to say it, but I don't want you to text and drive. So when you're not driving, there will be a number in the description. If you want any support in any way of how to have those consultations, then text support to the number in the description. We'll also be linking Vivian's Instagram and website that you can check out more about her as well. And yeah, I really appreciate you spending your morning with us, your afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you, Vivian, for hanging out with us. It's been a great time.
Thank you so very much. And P.S., we have a quiz. So let's find out from everybody whether you're a 1-star or 5-star. Nice. And let's get this ball rolling. Let's make the world a more beautiful place. Hairdressers, we can do it. Thank you so much. Right. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vivian. All right, we'll see you next time on the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.